James Bell of the Boxing Swords here with another video, and this video here is to review the results of the rematch between Andy Ruiz Jr. and Anthony Joshua. We have Anthony Joshua winning by unanimous decision to regain the IBF, WBA, WBO, and IBO heavyweight titles. Once again, becoming heavyweight champion, improving his record to 23-1, and it was a dominant performance by Anthony Joshua, a textbook boxing performance by Anthony Joshua. He was able to, take his time, be very patient in the ring, control the distance, control spacing throughout the entire fight up until I would say the 9th or 10th rounds. There were a couple of times where he, tried to scrap it out with Andy Ruiz Jr. in close quarters when he was throwing combinations. But other than that, he was, using his jab all the way through the fight. And as a key to this particular bout, he moved around the ring all through the fight. He wasn't a sitting duck for Andy Ruiz Jr. He didn't stay stationary for a long period of time. If he did, he was throwing the jab and sticking Andy Ruiz with the jab. Early in the fight, in the first round, and then in the first round, when he was starting to utilize the jab, he threw his right hand. And when he threw his right hand, it hurt Andy Ruiz a little bit and caused a cut near Andy Ruiz's eye. And that pretty much set the tone for this particular bout. Andy Ruiz just didn't have any answers for Anthony Joshua's style here in this particular bout, with Anthony Joshua coming in there at 237 pounds, like nowhere near being 250 or so. No, not being bulky for this particular fight, being able to be more fluid with his punches, being able to fight off of his back foot, and like I said, moving side to side, making Andy Ruiz reset his pursuit of Anthony Joshua. He did not have much of an answer at all for Joshua, especially with him being very stationary in his approach coming to Anthony Joshua. So as long as Anthony Joshua controlled the distance, was able to throw his jab, and then throw that right hand at times, then he was going to control the fight, and that is exactly what he did. There were times where he did throw combinations, where he did have Andy Ruiz hurt a little bit, but he didn't necessarily follow through. He didn't try to go in and try to go for a knockdown, even though those opportunities were there. He didn't necessarily do that. He just stayed patient, kept his posture and his poise at times, and just threw the jab, throw the right hand at times, throw combinations when he could, get it to the inside, tie up Andy Ruiz, not being able to allow him to punch that much. But even in close quarters, he was able to throw a couple of body shots and throw a couple hooks in there in close quarters. He did get hit a couple times by Andy Ruiz, but either they were at the very end of Andy Ruiz's punches, or he was able to take a good amount of those shots from Andy Ruiz. I think that there was, questions about Anthony Joshua's chin or anything like that. Well, he did take shots from Andy Ruiz and was able to stand up and stand tall. But even in close quarters, where Andy Ruiz would have been able to throw hooks and throw power shots, Anthony Joshua either, nullified those punches with blocks, or, ducked to anticipate what was coming back to him after either he threw a combination or was there in close quarters against Andy Ruiz. And you saw a little bit of hints of the old, quote-unquote, Anthony Joshua, where he, was having fun being there in the ring, sticking his tongue out, saying that, yeah, he's, ready to fight and things like that. But even with all of that, he still kept his composure and just boxed in a textbook performance against Andy Ruiz Jr. And it was pretty much a blowout for the majority of the fight. And Andy Ruiz, with him coming in at that, extra weight, um, hit over 280 pounds. It wasn't like he was, there very tired, but he was very disappointed coming into the, end of the 10th round that he couldn't do that much to affect Anthony Joshua up to that particular point. And you saw that at the end of the 12th round, he was like, "Yo, let's go, let's scrap. And Anthony Joshua was not having any parts of it. Anthony Joshua knew that he had the fight in the bag at that particular point, so he wasn't going to really engage that much up in close quarters. He basically had that win. Was able to become the two-time unified heavyweight champion of the world, and he did put in the suggestion immediately after the fight that he wanted to have a third fight with Andy Ruiz. He said that before the fight as well, that he wanted to fight Andy Ruiz again if he had the win, but that's going to be very difficult for that to happen. With it being unified champion, you have mandatories that are due. IBF mandatory is due with Kubrat Pulev. The WBO mandatory is due with Alexander Usyk. IBF is due first, then the WBO, with the IBF mandatory that hadn't been honored since October 2017 when Anthony Joshua defeated Carlos Takam. So it's long overdue, and Kubrat Pulev is willing to cash in, or ready to cash in with that. So we're going to see what happens with the situation with these titles after this win by Anthony Joshua. But main thing is here, Anthony Joshua came in there, had a textbook performance against Andy Ruiz, showing that he can fight, fight tall, use his jab, use his distance, and not really, have any issues with a guy that is smaller than he is and has a smaller reach. So he's able to celebrate now, and then we see what happens as far as like what Anthony Joshua's next fight will be in 2020, and also with Andy Ruiz, what his next fight will be in 2020. As there was word that he had a 3-fight deal with Matchroom Boxing when he signed for the initial fight with Anthony Joshua on June 1st in Madison Square Garden. So we got to see what happens with Andy Ruiz Jr. and also with Anthony Joshua going into 2020. But that's what we got here. Anthony Joshua, once again, the IBF, WBA, WBO, and IBO heavyweight champion with a unanimous decision victory over Andy Ruiz Jr. Be sure to subscribe to the Boxing Source Radio Show. That's on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, whatever your favorite podcast app is. And catch us here on YouTube and also live 7:30 Sunday night on Blog Talk Radio. On that note, folks, I'm out. Peace.